Hello folks, I am the old sergeant. The world is becoming increasingly unstable, and one location that has been in the news for a very good reason is Venezuela. Venezuela is now a collapsed nation state. What do we do about it? Right now, our government is considering whether we should take military action in Venezuela. So let's take a look at a sit-rep of the situation, what possible military actions we could take, and what the probable outcomes of such military actions are. Communism has caused no food, no water, no power. The population is starving. There are riots. Corrupt and drug-addicted military are killing civilians. The National Congress of Venezuela, the National Assembly, elected Juan Guaido as president. President Nicolas Maduro has refused to leave office. The military supports Maduro. The United States supports opposition leader Juan Guaido's uprising against Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's government. Sanctions and international diplomatic pressure has been ineffective. U.S. President Donald Trump has said that all options are on the table, and U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said military intervention in Venezuela is possible. The United States has a clear objective in Venezuela: regime change and the restoration of democracy and the rule of law. Russian, China, Cuban, Iranian, and other nations support President Nicolas Maduro. Support is for a communist foothold in South America, and it caused difficulty for the United States. Military options in Venezuela. 2 options: precision bombing campaign, ground invasion. Goals: stabilize country, establish a civilian government. Battle space: 352 million square miles, or twice the size of Iran. Population of 33 million. Geography from lowlands to mountains. Climate from hot and dry to much colder and higher elevations. Estimated time for peacekeeping, rebuilding institutions and infrastructure, years to decades. The opposition. The military. Estimated 128,000 personnel. Paramilitaries. Colectivos, which are armed leftist groups, more than 100,000 members. Fighters, 39. Helicopters, 86. Combat tanks, 485. Armored fighting vehicles, 338. Artillery, 164. The Navy consists of 3 frigates, 4 corvettes, 2 submarines, and 29 patrol vessels. Precision bombing. Goals: destroy military, economic infrastructure, regime's ability to repress the Venezuelan people, and to have the military abandon the government. Operational requirements: aircraft carrier battle group, B-1 and B-2 bombers, dedicated cyber warfare personnel, drones, special forces. Possible probable outcomes: operation could last for months. Thousands of civilians could be killed. What remains of the economy would be destroyed. Anarchy. Power would be with the armed criminal groups. Millions of Venezuelans would flee and attempt to get into the United States. Ground forces would probably still be required to restore order after the government and military collapses. Ground invasion. Goals: secure airfields, ports, oil fields, power stations, command and control facilities, communications infrastructure, key government facilities, and the president's residence. Operational requirements: 200,000 plus ground forces, aircraft carrier battle group, B-1, B-2 bombers, dedicated cyber warfare personnel, drones, special forces. Possible positive outcomes: Venezuelan military could collapse quickly. Government leadership could flee. Cuban and Russian forces could stand down. Colectivos and other paramilitaries could stand down. American military could be welcomed as liberators by the civilian population. Possible negative outcomes: resistance by Venezuelan military, a guerrilla war with former members of the Venezuelan military, paramilitary, Colombian insurgents, colectivos, civilian militia aided by Cuba, Russia, and other countries. Years of active combat, decades of military occupation or permanent military bases. Hatred of the population, as the United States would be seen as invaders rather than liberators. High number of casualties for the United States military, Venezuelan military, and civilians. Conclusion: any military action would come at great cost in lives and treasure, thousands of military deaths, and could cause well over $1 trillion. Long-term occupation of Venezuela would be required. The United States would be hated by the citizens of Venezuela. We will be seen as an occupying force. America standing in Latin America would be severely damaged. Anti-Americanism would rise. Americans are war-weary and would not stand for another military campaign. Millions of Venezuelans will flee and will still attempt to get into the United States. Even though tensions are already high, military action in Venezuela will increase the tensions between the United States and Russia, China, Cuba, Iran, and other nation states that have an interest in South America. When we go into other countries for military operations, even though we do it with the best of intentions, often all it results in is the loss of American lives and treasure, only to have the people in these nations hate us. Because for what in America is just a couple of days in the news cycle is a major historical event in these countries. I talked to a lot of veterans over this subject, active duty and retired, enlisted, and officers. And the consensus is that the United States should not get involved with military operations in Venezuela because of the reasons already shown in the SITREP. So the answer to the question, should the United States take military action in Venezuela, is no. Stay vigilant, patriots.